Hey there, it's Olivia-Savannah here from Olivia's Catastrophe and welcome to episode 3 of Half the Haul. Half the Haul is a video series on my channel where I take the newly hauled in stack of books from last month and I try to read half of it. There are certain power-ups and certain other elements to what can happen in this game, so I will take you through it as we go along. But please, if you want to be knowing about the books that I'm going to be talking about in this video, go and watch my haul video that I recently did. It'll be the video before this one and I'll leave a link for it up here and in the description box down below. That is just to give you context of the size of the haul and what we are dealing with. But in case you don't want to watch the haul, please, these are the books that I hauled in the month of February. Look at that stack. So that is 15 books. And so to half the haul, I will need to read either 7 or 8 books, depending on how the dice will be rolled, because that's actually 7.5 books. And what we're going to do, the first roll that I'm going to do is I'm going to do the one where my power up can come into play. So I've asked my mum on this occasion to be the guest that chooses a number between 1 and 6, and if I roll the exact number that she has chosen, it means I don't need to read half of the haul, I only need to read 25% of the haul. But as well, before we do the roll, I almost forgot to mention that of the books that I've hauled in, I have already read 3 of the books. The 3 books I have read is the picture book I Talk Like a River by Jordan Scott and illustrated by Sydney Smith, I Kiss Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston, and also The Transgender Issue by Sean Fay. So whatever number I get of how many books I need to read, I can minus the 3 that I have already read. Let's see the number that my mum has chosen for us. Editing, Olivia-Savannah here. I'm not quite sure what happened to the footage here, but it has exported without any audio, and so unfortunately you can't hear my mum being very lovely while she chooses the number 4 for this challenge. But please rest assured, it was the number 4. Alright, so we've got a 4. Let's see if I can manage to roll a 4. Manifesting. So I'm gonna try rolling on this surface. I don't know if it's gonna roll off, but we're gonna do our best to keep it on this surface. So let's go. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I can't believe it. What? I can't believe it. I honestly can't believe it. This is the 2nd time in a row that we have unlocked this power up. Alright, so let's just quickly talk about this. So I unlocked the power up where I only need to read a quarter of my haul. So my haul is like technically 15 books long, which is 7.5, which means then it's kind of like 8, right? So if I half it, I need to read 4 books. However, I've already read 3 of the books, which means to half this haul, I only need to read 1 book. 1 book in this episode. But the power up of getting a quarter of my haul also means I unlock this beautiful shelf here and I can read anything from the shelves behind me. It doesn't have to be a book in the haul. Now, there are some books in my haul that I'm very, very excited to read. However, I am so glad that I rolled the power up and I only need to read 1 book, because there's 1 book I need to read on a deadline, and that is Arcadia by Tom Stoppard. So next week, Tuesday, we are on Saturday, so in 4 days time I'm going to the theatre to watch Arcadia in theatre, and usually when I go and see my plays, it's a play that I've read before, or I make an effort to read it before I go, and I just completely forgot that I'd booked to see Arcadia last year, and I'm very excited to go, but I want to read that book, and I was planning to read that book today. So instead of reading anything new from my haul, and you know, my backlist books have just been waiting very kindly for me while I've been filming these half the haul episodes, so it's very good for me to just quickly read something short, a play that I can read in 1 day and kick it off of this list and kick it off of my TBR, and also finish filming a half the haul episode in a singular day. I won. I have won in this episode. I'm so excited. So I think actually what I'm just gonna go and do now is vlog the rest of my day, take you with me, and read my play act by act and drink some tea. That sounds stellar to me. honestly been having such a chill Saturday that I have just been chilling in bed and reading a play. I don't actually have any b-roll to show you. I've just drank tea and read to the halfway mark of this play because it just reads so easily and so quickly. And now that I've read some of it, I can start to tell you what it's about. So it's set in 2 timelines, and you start in the past where you find out that somebody within the household is cheating on the husband's wife. So somebody is cheating with the wife, and there's conversations around that and around art and about who loves this woman. We don't really get to see this woman, but we know that there are several men who really love her and desire her. And then there's a second timeline, which you gradually work out is in the future, where there are people who are tracing back what happened in the past through letters, notes and books and other things that have been left behind. And it's very complicated. Like, when I'm reading this play, you need to have your mind switched on, because what Tom Stoppard likes to do is to talk about something by talking around it and talking about other things as well. So he could be talking about the affair and then he'll throw in some like maths theory and like describing carnal urges as if it's like embracing meat rather than what carnal urge really means, but really you're talking about people having an affair. So you do have to like use your brain while you are to understand what they're actually really talking about and digging into, which makes me very glad that I've read this before I go and see it on stage, because the conversation is probably going to be very fluid and snappy, and it would just be hard to follow if the first encounter was having that on stage with the whole talking in code stuff that is happening. But it's also really clever. It's just a really clever play. It's a subject matter that doesn't really appeal to me or interest me, but the fact that I have to work so hard to get what's happening and to see how the past and the future storylines are feeding into each other is intriguing me, especially because what Tom Stoppard does expertly well is that sometimes he doesn't show you what's happening in the past until the people figure it out in the future, and then you go back to the past and then you're like, oh look, you know, you've got a hint, and now they talk about this thing in more detail now that we figured it out in the future. So the 2 timelines are feeding into each other well. The characters, I understand who they are, and Septimus is such an entertaining character to follow. He's one of the characters in the past because of how personable he is. He can get away with a lot of mischief because he is just so personable, or he can make jokes so people don't take him seriously when really he does mean that he wants to murder you, you know? So I'm appreciating the characterization and how the story has been crafted. I also really like what it says in the stage directions about staging. So the past and the present day story stage are the exact same thing, and of course that means that there are some modernity items that wouldn't be, some contemporary items I should say, that wouldn't be there in the past storyline, but how Tom Stoppard has directed us in the stage directions for whether or not you should notice them or how they're going to be used in the past is really creative, which makes me very curious to see how they're going to put that on stage in the end. That's just going to fascinate me so much. So yeah, I'm halfway through and I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time. This feels like the kind of play that I would read and study at uni, and it feels like it's taking me back to my academic thoughts while reading, even though I'm just reading it myself for fun in one day. And I've only got half to go, which means it's time to pick the tea from the tea advent calendar. But this is like a second-hand copy I got from a shop. It's got yellowed pages. I'm really enjoying reading the yellowed pages. It feels special when you're reading a book that's old and the center of the page is lighter toned and the darker edges. I really love it. I personally prefer pristine copies in my collection of books. So of course what I'll be doing is, if I continue to enjoy this one, at some point I'll buy a nicer edition and then redonate this one back to a charity shop. But I'm glad I have the privilege of being able to find books in charity shops for cheap and read them and then choose if I want to keep a nicer edition in my collection. That is a privilege to be able to do that, and I really like that I'm able to do that, because if I have a choice when I'm reading classics, I want to be reading the old copy. It's like the feeling of an old book. This was still published before I was born, you know, and I get to read it, and it's the font that they went for in the old times, like that typewriter font, that it does it for me. It does something for me. I'm having a great time. I'm also gonna have a cup of tea while I read the rest of this play. So let's see what tea we'll be having. We need number 3. If you follow my channel very closely, by the order of which I pull these teas out of this calendar, you can figure out which vlogs I filmed when, which is quite entertaining. But yes, we've got box number 3 in our hands right now. Let's see what it's going to give us. So at the back, it says what it is. Ooh, this is an interesting flavour. So the flavour we've got here is chocolate digestives. I'm so curious to see if it's going to be able to pull off that flavour, because that is a great flavour. It's creative and it sounds like it'll be delicious. Medium caffeine, with or without milk, brew for 4 minutes. I'm excited. This is a great pull. Oh my gosh. This smells very chocolatey. It smells like a chocolate digestive, you know? That smells like a chocolate digestive, you know? That's gonna be good. Let's have some tea and read a book. I've just been reading while that tea is brewing because it said 4 minutes, so I wanted to give it the full 4 minutes to have the best taste testing chance. I haven't read enough to give you an update. I will keep reading while I drink this tea, but let's drink the tea and see how it tastes. Oh, it smells so good. The scents of this tea have just been so good. This does smell chocolatey and creamy and delicious. I hope it's not too hot. Wow. Alright, so I've tasted that tea quite extensively. I did really want to taste it properly to be able to give you my thoughts on it. That tastes like chocolate. I'm pretty sure they must have like some chocolate, some cacao in it, because it really tastes like chocolate. That's a very impressive chocolate flavour. And the aftertaste that I'm tasting right now is sublime. I really like this tea. It tastes so chocolatey and so good. And I imagine that if you put milk in this tea, I haven't done it myself, but if you put a tad of milk in this tea, it might bring some of the like creaminess that a digestive biscuit will bring. As it stands, it's got a kind of, it's not got a biscuity taste at all, but it's got a like, the aftertaste is giving digestive, in my opinion. The aftertaste is giving digestive. So I think chocolate digestive is quite an accurate name for this tea, but more so chocolate. And I wonder if you put milk in it, if you would get chocolate digestive. Because they give you 2 tea bags, I could technically try this again tomorrow and put milk in it to see if it tastes like chocolate digestives, but I don't want to ruin this tea by putting milk in it because it tastes really good as it is. That's delicious. Now let me look up the chocolate digestive tea to see if they've got any more information on their site, because I did say I would look these teas up when I tried them. Oh, look at this. This is, yeah, that's my new phone case. I basically had to get a new phone case just because my other one was so old. It was a gift from my sister for my birthday, and this is Pingu and Friends. Before I had Dominic Toretto's Muscle Car Garage, which is a Fast and Furious reference, and I loved having that phone case. It's kind of an end of an era because that phone case has been with me everywhere. It's gone to Australia and back with me, and I lived there. It was with me through my university years, and it was even with me. It's older than my work career, right? And I've been working for 5 years now, so I've had this phone case for a very long time. It was just really worn and it was starting to chip at the edges because it's protected my phone so well that I was like, I need to get a new one just so I can keep my phone safe. Pingu is something I watch whenever I'm sad. It is hard to be sad when you've got a penguin talking nonsense and being silly on screen in front of you. And so I really love Pingu, and I thought Pingu and Friends is a very good thing for my next phone case because I'm a big fan at the moment. Okay, so this is what it says. The chocolate digestive is a British classic, arguably on top of the biscuit pyramid. We thought it was about time it had its own tea blend. This is our best-selling chocolate tea blend. It's vegan friendly and sure to become a fast favourite. A velvety, smooth caramel and chocolate delight, best enjoyed while dunking the real thing. There's simply nothing better than a cuppa with a biscuit, so stick the kettle on and get dunking. Okay, so it is technically a chocolate tea rather than a chocolate digestive tea. The name chocolate digestive is the name, but it's a chocolate tea. And if it is a chocolate tea, then it is 10 out of 10 smashing that, because that tastes like drinking chocolate in tea form. I find it interesting that they say you should have it with a chocolate digestive with it. I don't have any chocolate digestive. That's what it is. Really good tea, a winner. I would definitely buy that again, but I'm gonna now sit here and finish reading my book. So I'll check in with you once I'm done. I just finished Arcadia and that was so good. I really enjoyed this. Oof, that ending was so good. I loved it. So basically, what this book really focuses on as the big theme is, like, in history, we take the evidence we find, we take the letters, we take the facts, we take the notes, and all of the documentation, and we try to piece together what happened in history. And sometimes we are right and sometimes we are wrong. And what I really liked about this is the steering drive in this book was, you know, trying to piece together what happened in history, seeing what they concluded, and then we get to see whether or not they were right or if they were wrong. But also it goes further than that, because the characters have disagreements and each of the characters chooses to do something different with the information and evidence that is left. And I really liked the consequences of the choices that certain characters made when it came to sharing the information that they deduced from the historical facts that they found. I found that very fascinating, I found it very fun, and I was actually wondering after reading the first part of this play whether that would be enough to drive the plot, but it really was enough, because I was like, oh, I want them to know whether this is right or wrong, and I wanted to know who was right and who was wrong. The play also, in the last two scenes, did something I really like with the timeline, because as I said, this is partly set in the past and this is partly set in the present, and I'm not going to tell you what it does with the timeline, but it's just something that I really enjoyed from an artistic standpoint, from what the playwright chose to do with the timeline. That was very, very clever and very, very well done. And in the stage directions, it really tones it. It really hones in on that effect. And so I cannot wait to watch this on stage, because I think it's going to look really cool. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed what a lot of this meant for the female characters, and that really worked for me. So all in all, another fab play from Tom Stoppard. I can't wait to see it. I'm so glad that past me invested in buying these tickets even though I hadn't read it yet. And that's also a nice way to do it, because it's given me a push to read it. And with that, I've already finished this episode of Half the Haul. However, I'm going to keep this vlog going until just until Tuesday, when I go and see the play itself, because it would be nice if I just came back and told you what I thought of the stage performance and seeing it in theatres. So the next clip of me will be going to the theatre and then coming back to my final thoughts on that. But this is the fastest I've ever done a Half the Haul video in a singular day, and that's all because the dice decided that they loved me today. That I have gone to see Arcadia in the theatres, and it was a very nice time and I had a jolly good time. What I really liked about having recently read the play before going is that it almost felt like I was rereading the play for the first time, even though it was actually just seeing it live. and because of that I picked up on a lot more jokes that are cracked in the play than I noticed when I was reading the script myself. I think just that always happens when you see something on stage. The humour from the past is just more prevalent, and even though I did find the play I was reading funny and circumstantially humorful, there were still more moments of humour that I had missed. And as well as that, by knowing the ending, when I went to see it, I could see that there were so many clues and hints that Tom Stoppard had left in the very first scene, and also in just scenes before we get to the main point, that showcase everything being the way that it is. And so I was like, oh, that's so clever. I see a whole bunch of foreshadowing that was previously hidden to me, having read it only for the first time. The actors themselves were absolutely fantastic. They really brought it to life. The person who played, oh, I already forgot characters' names, I think Thomasina, was fantastic, and also the person who played my favourite Septimus was hilarious. But actually only by seeing it in theatre on stage did I realise that Lord Byron is a character who is not on screen at all and not in the script at all, but a whole lot of the play hooks around what Lord Byron does or what he does not do. That's basically the whole point of the play, and yet I realised only when I visually saw it that he's not in the play. He's not in it at all, but it's literally all about him and certain things he hasn't done, and I just love that. I love when there's a character that haunts a play or haunts a narrative where they are such a large role of the play but they're not in it. I just think that's fantastic, and so I saw even more of the cleverness and the masterful way that Tom Stoppard has put this play together by watching it visually. But yes, they did a fantastic job. I loved the staging, I loved how they used the lights. I found that very interesting, that what I was looking forward to seeing on stage was actually the least impactful thing when I watched the production, and things that I wasn't expecting were actually the most enjoyable elements of it. But it was still such a wonderful production, and I'm so glad I saw it. Seeing it in theatres though did actually emphasise how long that second half of the play is. I felt it while I was reading it, but actually no, I didn't feel it while I was reading it. I was just reading it and I was like, this is a play. But then when I saw it, you know, in theatres, I was like, this is a 3-hour long play, which is long. Plays are usually about 2 hours with an interval, or about 2.5 if we're giving it a stretch, but this is literally 3 hours with an interval, so that's very long. But yeah, very much enjoyed that, and this was a really fun half of the haul. I loved how this episode went. Please let me know in the comment section down below, what's the last thing that you reread or rewatched, and what did you think of it upon going through it for a second time or a multiple time? Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to be updated every time I have a new video. And you know what they say, onwards and upwards. Excelsior!